My name is Patrick Schultz. I will be talking about the oil sands up in Alberta, Canada, particularly the process of harvesting as well as the environmental impacts of the tailing ponds. So a little history and overview. The oil sands are a hydrocarbon mixture of hydrocarbon oils and sand buried in the first 200 meters of the Earth's surface. As we learned, the oil and the sand can be separated out, and then the oil can be further refined into everyday petroleum products. Reserves are equal to about 165.4 billion barrels. The surface area of the Alberta oil sands are 142,200 square kilometers. Only about 3% of the reserves can be mined. The rest has to be harvested using other techniques like steam-assisted gravity draining. And the first barrel of oil was produced out of the Alberta oil sands in 1967 by Suncor. So processing. We have big trucks that carry about 200 tons of the oil sands at a time into grinders where it's further broken down. Then it's mixed with hot water to go ahead and separate the oil and the sands. The oil is then sent to refinery where the first step is hydrocracking, which uses high temperatures to break large hydrocarbons into smaller ones. Distillation, which sorts hydrocarbons by chain length. Catalytic conversion, which will convert various hydrocarbons into a more useful arrangement. And then hydrotreating, which removes impurities like sulfur while adding hydrogen at the same time. So before the oil is sent to refining, the water from the separation is dumped into what's called tailing ponds. So they're giant, massive man-made lakes that live for about 30 to 40 years. They have concrete bases. So their contents are what's left over from the separation, silt water, sand, and petrochemical waste products. As of 2016, they had more than 1.18 trillion liters or 3.117 billion gallons in them. The tailing ponds cover surface area today that's greater than both Manhattan and Boston combined. For every 1 barrel of oil produced out of the oil sands mining operation, 1.5 barrels of liquid are added to the tailings ponds. They're known to contain chemicals like arsenic, mercury, and lead. So obviously with big ponds like that, social issues and environmental issues are bound to happen. We know that the tailing ponds are leaking 11 million liters per day, which is about 70,000 barrels per day. A single pond can leak as much as 6.5 million liters per day. We know that polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons are evaporating and being deposited into other water systems around the area at about the same rate that they're leaking. We know that there are wildlife concerns. In 2018, about 1,600 migrating ducks were killed in the tailing ponds. They landed in them, died. Similar event in 2010 when 230 ducks. It's been found that levels of mercury and lead are higher downstream than recommended for federal provincial guidelines, and that's been linked to unusually high rates of cancer in the Fort Chipewyan communities in 2014 due to consumption of traditionally caught fish and meat in the area. So a little history of the pond regulations. At the start in 1967 all the way to 2009, there were no regulations. In 2009 to 2015, there was Directive 074, which was guidelines set forth by the province of Alberta on how to manage them. But that failed because there was no enforcement. July of 2016, the tailings management framework is set forward to go ahead and enforce a new directive, Directive 085, which is currently held up today. So the future of the tailings ponds, it's estimated that the total to treat the tailings fluid today is $44.5 billion, not including the $6.8 billion for land reclamation. The Mine Financial Security Program has set aside $1.57 billion, so not too much to deal with that. In November 2016, oil sands mining companies have publicized plans to continue mining and expanding ponds for at least another 2 decades. So it seems like the rest of the cleanup is likely to fall in the hands of Albertan taxpayers. Here's works cited.